super cool.
네, 안녕하십니까. 저는 지금 이 솔트레이크 시청 앞에 나와 있습니다.
We have
오늘
a bunch of speakers
지금
lined up today who are
인종차별에
all, for the
반대하는 또
most
모든 사람
part,
사랑하자는
Asian American or
그
grew up here in
시위가
Utah
열리고
locally.
있습니다. 제가
So,
이렇게
while our
지금
experiences don't really reflect like the
현수막을
whole
만들었거든요.
population, of course, it does reflect like a
만들어서
small minority. Just want to make that clear. So no
밤에
one's just,
만들었습니다.
like, take away from
촬영을
this
좀
that
해서
everyone's
보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 여기는 이제 서울
harassed. I don't
솔트레이크
know.
시청 앞에.
Okay, cool. Anyway, so my story, I'm probably gonna start crying. That's my, disclaimer. But I never really grappled with my Asian identity until senior year of high school when one of my teachers asked if I identified as Asian, and I said yeah, and kind of thought it was a silly question to be asked. And then he followed up with asking, well, when you go to Asia, what do you identify as? And I said American, like, without hesitation. And he pointed out that it was a little weird that depending on where I was geographically, I changed what I identify as. And I never thought about that. And that summer when I went back to Taiwan, anytime anyone called me American, I was like, I don't know if that's what I identify as, though, in all reality. And then freshman year of college, my friends encouraged me to join the Asian American Student Association. And right there in the title, Asian American, that's a label I can use where I'm not like grappling with
자기의
which side
경험담을
I should
얘기하고
identify
있습니다.
as. Super happy.
중국계입니다.
Now during the start of the pandemic,
지금 여기는
you read
법원입니다.
articles
법원이고
about
지금 전차가 지나가고 있죠. 제가 한때는 그것을 인정했습니다.
in Texas, and you get a little worried for your own health and safety, like if you leave the house, will that happen to you? Unfortunately, I did have that happen to me. I had a man go out of his way to approach me and tell me that I needed to go back to China to stop the spread of coronavirus here in the United States. But I'm not Chinese. Like I said earlier, I'm Taiwanese. And I realize that that's a problem that a lot of people do, is they assume your Asian identity, especially right now. Asians across the board are being attacked, even though the rhetoric that was used was the Chinese virus and such. And that's like a problem that's been going on for quite some time. After that occurrence, I got really scared to leave my house. I developed really bad social anxiety. And if anyone knows me, I'm pretty outgoing and I like to talk. And I stopped doing that.
많은 사람들이 지금 밀집했습니다. 여기가 지금 솔트레이크 시청 건물입니다. 시청 앞 단지 광장에서 지금 coronavirus, not just because of the health repercussions, but because I didn't want to fulfill that stereotype that Asians were spreading coronavirus. Also last summer, I started getting really aggressive towards anyone who assumed that I was Japanese because they apparently thought I just wanted to trip to Japan, or Vietnamese because I looked like their Vietnamese friend. And so I started pointing it out, and someone had told me that they couldn't be racist because they like animals. And at first I thought, what a weird thing to say, and just left it at that. And then I told someone else, they pointed out what that really hurt. And that person, I had gone to a wedding of theirs. So it really hurt that someone that I knew had said this to me. Also, last year, I heard someone say that Asians are in this racial limbo because white people tend to identify as myopic. But nice.
An extra piece if you want.
No, I got one. Yeah.
Cool.
Taking pictures.
a different kind of
Great.
discrimination,
Thank you.
partially due to the model minorityness that they think that. We're in this limbo,
현장에서
we're
직접
oftentimes forgotten,
사인을
and
만든
it's really
사람도
upsetting,
있습니다.
and
저한테
the
공연 한 장
forgetfulness really
주면서
got to me 'cause it kind of feels
만들
like
거는
we're
저는 이미 만들어 왔다고
especially in
했습니다.
past
아이를
months
얻고 온 사람도
when I
있네요.
was constantly sharing on my Instagram story next sharp articles because that seemed to be the only media outlet that was covering violence towards Asians or any Asian American news really. And it was really frustrating that I was seeing elders in San Francisco being pushed down, and some of the comments on those posts, while most of them were uplifting, there were a couple comments that were like,
폭행당한
this doesn't happen where I live, why is this being covered? And it was really frustrating to see that because it's like everyone should know that this is happening across the nation, even if you don't think it's happening where you live. During that time, I was angry that some of my followers weren't resharing what I was posting because most of my followers and friends are not Asian. So it kind of also felt like they were forgetting and not caring. During that time, I had one white person reach out and ask, "Are you okay?" And that also brought up a whole thing of emotions because, like, up until that point, no one had asked, "How are you feeling during this time?" It wasn't until the Atlanta shooting that Stop Asian Hate was trending and got visibility, and I feel like even that was kind of short-lived. It was like trending for a couple of days and then just a memory of the past, a hashtag to use that day just because everyone else was using it. I made the mistake of reading major media outlet like Fox News, CNN, the comments, and some of the comments that they had were really hurtful, and I couldn't imagine anyone actually saying it. Someone had written that I remember, they had written, "They did the world a favor." And I couldn't imagine being one of the children of one of those individuals who were murdered and seeing that comment. It would just be an awful thing to see. And it's like an awful thing in general to say. Even scrolling through the hashtag Stop Asian Hate on Facebook, I came across a comment that said, "All lives matter. I don't care if your skin color is white, black, or brown, or even blue." And on a post denouncing the hashtag, they still failed to include those of Asian descent. So once again, we're still forgotten. When creating this event, I asked around some amongst my friends who are really active in the Asian community, and they were not aware of anything being organized. And that kind of made me mad because why aren't we organizing something where we can all gather and talk, especially here in Salt Lake? Something I saw in Next Shark that I didn't see elsewhere was in February, an Asian store owner was shot and killed, and I found out about it 8 days after it happened. And that was really frustrating to hear about because it happened right here in our backyard, and it didn't seem like anyone was talking about it. So I created this event basically to create a sense of support and to hear others talk about what their experiences have been living here in Salt Lake City, Utah, because for some reason a lot of people think that this doesn't affect Utahns. And that's all I really have to say. My name is Serena. Feel free to message me. If you want to create your own event like this demonstration, feel free to message me. I've now done it once, and I would be more than happy to tell you it's kind of confusing. And I will now turn the time over to Katana.
Do you mind repeating that? Just 'cause it's not
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's CheeseLover012 on Instagram, but like all social media basically. But yeah, once again, please keep your masks on.
Hey everybody, my name is Katana. I'm reading this off my phone because public speaking is not my forte, but since the opportunity arose, I decided to use my voice. I am half Taiwanese and half white. I grew up with my Taiwanese mother who immigrated here for the education and a better life. My mom is the most hardworking woman I will ever know. While growing up, my mom, as a single mother, went to school full-time and worked as a maid and a nanny to provide for us. She struggled for countless years as I lived comfortably, and she worked her way up to a master's degree in electronic engineering. But not even her incredible strengths and achievements have shielded her from the prejudice of others. I am half white, so I have privileges that my mother does not. But as a child, not even I could escape the mockery, the pulled back eyes, the ching-ching-chongs, the punchlines to jokes. But these displays were only readily shown when I revealed the fact that I am Asian. I can hide behind my ambiguous features when I choose to. And after experiencing firsthand how ruthless people can be, I chose to as a child a lot. But there are people in my life who can't choose to. My mom, my yeye, my jojo, my joma, both of my ais, my popo if she were still here today, all of them could be targets of the violence towards Asians if they lived in the US, and I can't even begin to think about that. But this is the reality of what's happening in America and around the world, and especially since the start of the pandemic. I'm here standing in front of you all to let you know that I will fight tooth and nail for all Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and immigrants to be protected. I mourn for those who have lost their lives and for those who have lost someone due to another person's irrational hate. I'll fight against the violence, the hate, the fetishizations, the generalizations, the stereotypes. I'll fight against the microaggressions because no, I'm not pretty for an Asian, and no, I can't get you a discount at the nail salon, and no, not every Asian walking down the street is my relative, and no, it's not funny. These comments just have to stop. Because although COVID-19 has been called the Chinese virus, and people try to tell us that it's not a big deal, that hasn't stopped every other Asian American and Pacific Islander from being the targets of violence. So yes, it is a big deal. And it's up to us to stand together along with allies to say that we do not tolerate this, any of it. I'll end this by telling you, I love you all, protect Asian lives and stop Asian hate. Sorry, I don't know where Serena went. She has the speaker schedule, but
지금 마이크를 잡은 학생은 여기서 나는 한국 학생입니다. 크리스틴 린이라고 저희가 얘기를 나누고 있습니다. 대구가 부모님의 고향이라고 합니다. 지금 한명 할아버지는 대구에 살고 있다고 하는데 오늘 이 행사는 주로 대학생들이 중심이 돼서 준비가 되어 있고
All right. Does this sound good to everyone? Everyone can hear? All right. On March 16th at 5 p.m. at Golden Spot in Atlanta, Georgia. I'll restart. On March 16th at 5 p.m. at Golden Spot in Atlanta, Georgia, another hate crime was committed that was fueled by hatred, sexism, and racism. We in the Black community mourn and share the pain felt by our Asian brothers and sisters right now. Most importantly, today is the day we must label the events of March 16th at Golden Spa as what it is, and that is a hate crime. But looking further, local authorities and mainstream media refuse to label this a hate crime. According to South Korean news site Chuseon, the shooter was heard saying, and I quote, "I'm going to kill all Asians." This brings to attention a growing yet not new issue. The alarming rise of white supremacy and fascism cannot be overstated. Nearly 3 out of every 4 mass shootings can be linked back to right-wing extremism. Contrary to the misleading trope of Asian-Black conflict, we understand that the inextricable link between white supremacy, patriarchy, racism, and the war drive is the root cause of this violent atrocity. To expand on the point of Black-Asian working-class unification, throughout history, the solidarity between Asian and Black communities has been shown continually. Whether we are looking at the Black population's support for the Philippine community during the Philippine-American War in 1899, or the work of Asian women activists such as Grace Lee Boggs and Yuri Kachiyama. Both are instrumental in demanding the art of community building. For example, Grace Lee Boggs' work in the Workers' Party was highlighted by creating links between the Asian community in the Workers' Party and the Black members of the Black Power movement of the time. Boggs' quoted reasoning for targeting Black and Asian community unity was done, and I quote, "in order to achieve collective liberation of all marginalized groups." Now looking into the present, the modern implications of linked struggle between the Asian, Black, and various other marginalized communities under this imperialist and capitalist system, or that the communities who have faced dehumanization, coercion, and most of all, exploitation and cataclysms of hate-filled killings and attacks over and over, have been continued to be exploited and dehumanized. Having said that, it's not hard to tell that the status quo has not changed at all from the past. The question arises, how do we change the status quo for good? So let's try to understand one key thing here. All the marginalized groups have one common interest/goal, that is uprooting the capitalist system and taking the paved, yet still unpaved steps towards collective liberation of all the marginalized. Now more than ever, it is a time for oppressed communities to stand in arms locked together. And just like previous anti-racist movements, our voices will be heard. And we will say, no more hate crimes. Let me hear you say that. No more exploitation. And no more participation in a system that is meant to kill us. Now is the time for all of us with a common goal of change to let our future generations not continue to endure a fight that seems to happen at will under the right-wing fascism of the United States political system. The incident at Golden Spot, just like the ruthless murdering of George Floyd by the pigs, has a call to action for all people. It seems that people's first instinct is to expect the pillars of the current system to somehow step in and change the fate of the masses of marginalized community members. But this has not happened and will likely not happen. It is up to us, the members of such communities, to stand up and fight together in the face of racial injustice. Thank you.
everyone. First of all, I would like to thank every single one of you for coming out today to support Asian Americans. As you all may be aware, the horrific attack in Atlanta, Georgia, and the most recent threats made against Asian Americans in Utah are not isolated events. It is not a new occurrence for Asian Americans to be targeted and attacked for our identities and for our belonging in this nation to be questioned. In kindergarten, I was made fun of and mocked for the appearance of my face and my eye shape. In elementary school, I was called a, quote, Japanese flatface, even though I am Chinese American, and nobody did anything about this. In middle school, I was told that all of my achievements were all due to my race and not because of my own hard work. And in high school, I was told that I wasn't American, that I didn't belong here. How many of you have ever been asked, where are you from? No. Where are you really from? And when we answer with the answer that they want to hear, the home of our ancestors, the questioner often displays a look of, I knew it, on their face. When they ask us this question, they're telling us that they know that we don't belong here in this country, that they know we are foreigners, and in their eyes, we will be perpetually foreigners. But we are not foreigners. We are just as American as everyone else in this country. We belong in this country just as much as anyone else, and we deserve to live without fear that we will be attacked or assaulted or killed solely because of who we are. It is time for change. It is time that we take back our safety from the rise of hate and xenophobia in the United States of America. By gathering here today, we are telling our brothers and sisters across the country and across the world that we will not be silenced, that we stand with them and for their rights. We will stand in support of them, and we will fight for their lives and our lives. Head up to democracy. Its body will begin to crash and ride right Now the body is struggling against us, but remember, we will prevail. This change will last. We will stand with our Asian allies, our Black allies, our queer allies, our young allies, and all our allies. Our voices will be heard. Our concerns will be heard. Our calls for change will be heard, because we are here, and we belong here.
Hey everyone, my name is Stanley. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick. I want to tell a story kind of more of my dad, really, because to me, my dad came here when he was really, really young, and he's probably, a lot of people don't think we're patriotic, right? Because of the way we look, but ever since he's come here, I can see in his eyes, he loves his country. He absolutely loves America. But, you know, the way we're treated, I just don't think he deserves the credit. He's more patriotic than like any person I've met. And for me, the fear that we own a restaurant up in Ogden, and ever since this whole thing has started, I've kind of feared a little bit for him up there, you know, someone messing up our restaurant or going in and hurting him or something. So it's just, to me, I have a little, my heart kind of sinks every day, and you know, I'm kind of glad my dad he has a couple days off over the week now, but you know, it doesn't work every day. But every day he is there, I get really afraid. Every time he, you know, goes out, I get really afraid, because he has to take care of my grandma and my grandpa, and he basically takes care of everyone, like in our family, so much. And if anything were to happen to him, it would just hurt me so much. And all these news articles about our parents, our grandparents getting hurt, it's too much, you know, like our community, it's like we're so connected. So I see like all of us as brothers, parents, grandparents, everyone, they're my family, and for anything to happen to them, it's just thinking about that and happening to my parents, grandparents, it's just unthinkable. And really, I kind of just wanted to say, please, whoever's listening out there, understand that we have a big family. We're all connected, and we belong here. Just because of the way we look, we shouldn't be treated so differently, so undermined. Because we're here, this is our home too, and we need to be treated correctly. Thank you.